weren't planning to fix anything today. Then you notice the kitchen drawer sticking just a little. 5 minutes later, you're on the floor with a screwdriver, the drawer completely removed, wondering why the manufacturer thought that was a good idea. The strange part is, nobody asked you to do it. The drawer still opened. Life would have gone on exactly the same if you'd left it alone. So why couldn't you? Why do some problems feel like they're calling your name? And why does walking away almost feel unfinished?
Hi, I'm Phil, and if you've ever spent an hour fixing something worth $10, you're in good company. Before we keep going, subscribe if you enjoy discovering the hidden patterns behind everyday behavior. Give this video a like if you've ever said, "This'll only take 5 minutes." And comment "worth fixing" if you've ever turned a tiny repair into a personal mission. Because what pulls you toward broken things may have nothing to do with the things themselves. Think about the last time you found an old pocket knife at a yard sale. The blade was rusty. The handle was scratched.
Most people would see junk. You'd probably see potential. That's odd when you think about it. You don't get the same feeling from buying a brand new one that's already perfect. Somehow the damaged one is more interesting, more satisfying, almost like it has a story waiting to be finished. Here's the mystery. This doesn't just happen with tools. It happens with old cars, computers, furniture, backyard projects, and sometimes even hobbies you have absolutely no time for. Different objects, same pull. It's as if your brain lights up the moment it spots something that could be made better. But why? After all, fixing things usually costs time, money, and at least one trip back to the hardware store because you somehow bought the wrong size. And yet people keep doing it. Here's the part almost nobody notices. The moment you decide, "I think I can fix this," something changes. The object isn't just broken anymore. It quietly becomes a challenge. And challenges have a funny way of turning into something much more personal. The real question is, what exactly are you trying to prove? At first, the answer seems obvious. You're trying to make something work again. But if that were the whole story, you'd stop the second it worked. Instead, you tighten one more screw. You wipe it down. You test it twice. Then you stand there looking at it like a proud parent at a middle school science fair. That's not about the object anymore. It's about what happened to you while fixing it. Think about the last piece of furniture you assembled. Halfway through, the instructions stopped making sense. You muttered, "I don't need these anyway." 2 hours later, it was standing perfectly upright. Crooked, but upright. For some reason, that felt like a victory. Not because the bookshelf was amazing, because you figured it out. Your brain celebrates progress long before it celebrates perfection. That's why crossing one tiny task off your list can feel better than making huge progress on a project that never seems finished. Visible progress is addictive. The same thing happens at work. Someone asks you to solve a technical problem that's been bothering everyone for weeks. You lose track of time. Coffee gets cold. Your phone buzzes 6 times and you don't even notice. Then someone asks you to sit through a meeting about future planning. Suddenly, every minute feels like 10. Same effort, completely different experience. Why? Because one problem has a finish line you can actually see. The other keeps moving every time someone opens their mouth. Your brain loves problems that eventually say, "Done." Life rarely does. And that's where the pattern gets interesting. The things you enjoy fixing usually have one thing in common. They don't argue back. A lawnmower doesn't tell you your solution made it feel unheard. A loose cabinet hinge doesn't change the rules halfway through. A computer either boots up or it doesn't. There's something deeply satisfying about a world where effort and results are connected. But real life doesn't always work like that. Neither do people. And without realizing it, that difference starts shaping far more than the projects you choose on a Saturday afternoon. You've probably seen it happen without thinking much about it. A friend starts venting about a terrible day. Before they're even finished talking, you've already built 3 possible solutions in your head. You mean well. You honestly think you're helping. Then they say something that catches you completely off guard. I wasn't asking you to fix it. Wait, then what were they asking for? That's a confusing moment because the strategy that works so well everywhere else suddenly falls apart. The instinct that helped you repair engines, troubleshoot computers, or figure out why the Wi-Fi stopped working becomes almost useless. Not because it's wrong, because some problems aren't looking for answers. They're looking for understanding. The hardest problems are the ones without a repair manual. That's why uncertainty can feel strangely uncomfortable. When something mechanical breaks, you know there's probably a cause. A loose wire, a worn-out part, a missing bolt. But when a relationship feels distant, or your own motivation disappears for no obvious reason, there's nothing to tighten, nothing to replace, no satisfying click that tells you you're finished. So your brain starts searching anyway. Maybe if I say the right thing, maybe if I work harder, maybe if I can just solve this. The funny part is that this instinct doesn't mean you love fixing things. It means you love the feeling of making a difference. That's an important distinction. Think back to being a kid. You finally got your bike chain back on after struggling for 20 minutes. An adult walked by, smiled, and said, "Nice job." You probably don't remember the bike. You remember how that moment felt. Useful, capable, seen. Those moments quietly stack on top of each other over the years until solving problems becomes more than a skill. It becomes part of your identity. And once your identity gets involved, something surprising happens. You stop looking for broken things start finding you. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately noticed the one thing that wasn't quite right? A picture frame hanging slightly crooked, a cabinet door that doesn't close all the way, a weird sound coming from the car that everyone else somehow ignores? Most people walk right past. You can't. Not because you enjoy problems, because your brain has learned to recognize opportunity where others see inconvenience. You don't always notice what's broken because it matters. Sometimes it matters because you noticed it. And that's the real twist. You thought this was about fixing things. It was never really about the things. It was about becoming the person who could make them better. That's why restoring an old watch feels different from buying a new one. Why repairing your grandfather's toolbox can feel strangely meaningful. Why finishing a project gives you a satisfaction that's hard to explain. For a moment, the world makes sense again. Your effort produced a visible result. In a life full of uncertainty, that's a rare feeling. The challenge is remembering that not everything valuable works that way. Some conversations don't need solutions. Some people don't need improvement. And sometimes the hardest thing to repair is the belief that your worth depends on always being useful. The truth is, the people who care about you usually aren't keeping score of how many problems you solve. They're remembering how you made them feel when nothing could be fixed. Maybe that's why the strongest people aren't the ones who repair everything. They're the ones who know the difference between a problem that needs a wrench and a moment that simply needs their presence. So the next time you find yourself reaching for a solution, pause for just a second. Ask yourself one question. Are you trying to fix the situation, or are you trying to prove that you're the kind of person who can? The answer might explain every project you've ever started, every challenge you've ever chased, and every broken thing that somehow ended up in your garage. If this made you see yourself a little differently, I'd love to hear your answer. What's one thing you've tried to fix that turned out to be about more than the repair itself? Tell me in the comments, and hit that subscribe button for more topics like this to learn from every day.